Regarding the Ukrainian topic, of course, we discussed it, primarily yesterday, in an informal setting. US President Donald Trump's peace plan was commented on in detail and clearly by Russian President Vladimir Putin a few days ago, at the end of last week, during the Security Council Permanent Members meeting. Our assessments remain valid in the sense that the key provisions of Trump's plan are based on the understandings reached in Anchorage at the Russian-US top-level meeting this August. These principles are generally reflected in the plan. We welcome this, as President Putin said, because after Anchorage, when it seemed to us that these understandings had already been fixed, a long pause followed. Now this pause is off by the introduced document. We have it through unofficial channels. Officially, it has not been handed over to us, but we are ready, as the President said, to discuss specific wordings. There are a number of issues that require clarification. So far, we have not received the version from our US colleagues that is being speculated about in the media. Those who engage in such megaphone diplomacy certainly pursue far from noble goals. They don't hide it. French President Emmanuel Macron spoke recently and said that Trump's plan was unacceptable because it was a capitulation to Russia. Some make similar statements, asserting that everything should depend on Ukraine's willingness to accept or reject any agreement. Serious diplomats discuss such matters confidentially, as is expected of diplomats, until a final agreement is reached. Those trying to influence the discussions of the proposed documents have, firstly, leaked them deliberately to stir up a media frenzy, and those orchestrating this frenzy certainly aren't hiding it. They want to undermine Donald Trump's efforts and reshape this plan according to their own desires as. I wanted to mention an anecdote, but decided not to. We have communication channels with our US colleagues. They are being engaged. We are waiting for the version they deem interim after consultations with Europeans and Ukrainians. Then we will see, because if the letter and spirit of Anchorage are erased under the key understanding we have recorded, it would be a fundamentally different situation. For now, I reiterate, nothing has been officially handed over to us. Regarding Belarusian participation, Belarus has been actively involved in these efforts. When the Minsk agreements were reached, following nearly 20-hour talks between the Russian, Ukrainian, French and German leaders, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko did a lot personally to organize this work in such a way that it would succeed. It was Europe that destroyed the Minsk agreements, as we now know. They openly admitted this, despite being guarantors, France and Germany, and through them, the European Union. It was Europe, through former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's stance, that persuaded Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky not to sign the agreements that the Ukrainian delegation proposed in Istanbul in April 2022. So when Europe now says, "Don't do anything without us," you guys had your chances. You did not use them. You just failed. Macron made a very aggressive statement today saying that the only problem with Ukraine was Russia and its demands, that Russia was engaged in strategic confrontation with Europeans, and that they must prove they would never yield in the face of force that threatened them.